All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a conversation by Parabellum Esports in support of Bell Let's Talk. I'm your host, Alex Kim. To give a little bit of background about Bell Let's Talk, Bell Let's Talk promotes Canadian mental health with national awareness and anti-stigma campaigns like Bell Let's Talk Day. And they support with significant funding for community care, research, and workplace leadership initiatives. Since 2010, Bell has committed over $113 million to support a wide range of mental health organizations of all sizes and from coast to coast. So today I am joined by Landon Gorbenko. He is a mental performance coach in esports. How's it going, Landon?
Not too bad. Ready to chat.
And I'm also joined by Juwan Brescacin. So he's a content creator for Parabellum Esports and a professional CFL player for the Toronto Argos.
How's everybody doing?
Yeah, how's it going, Juwan?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's a good day to talk about our mental health, right? To get it out in the open and start that conversation. Yeah, just to start real quick, maybe you guys can start by introducing yourselves. Landon, did you want to go first?
Yeah, I can give a quick rundown of who I am, but my name is Landon, as Alex was mentioning, and as he also mentioned, I'm a mental performance coach within esports, and really a big portion of the reason why I got into the industry that I did was because as a young gamer myself, I've always been a gamer. I struggle with a lot of different kinds of issues, such as depression, social anxiety, general anxiety, and just pretty much anything else that you can name. I was kind of suffering through, and I thought that probably the best way for me to move forward with my life is to get the training and the education that I needed in order to help prevent a lot of those issues going forward for other kids in the next generations, while also kind of helping to improve their passions and their in-game skills. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach there, helping mental health as well as helping in-game performance.
Awesome. That's amazing. Incredible to hear, right? That's great motivation for doing what you do. Juwan, did you want to give a quick little intro about yourself?
Yeah, so as Alex said earlier, my name's Juwan Brescacin. I currently play for the Toronto Argonauts. The reason why I have kind of brought myself into the mental health space is because I've gone through my own challenges with mental health, and so have people in my family. And especially through 2020, I've had to do a lot of kind of soul searching and figuring out what makes me happy and kind of confronting things that I've dealt with in my past. And the easiest way for me to do that has been to simply talk about it. And starting with a conversation, something as small as that goes a very long way. So I'm here, and I'm happy to talk to speak on the topic, and I'm also finding kind of a passion in helping others get through their own mental health battles as well. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what today is all about, right? Starting that conversation. It's really important, and I think it helps way more than people think it does. For those that have had health issues, just talking about it, they'll know that how much that helps. So let's dive right into our first topic, which is stigma. So, in addressing stigma, unfortunately, negative attitudes and beliefs towards those with mental illnesses are all too common. Stigma can lead to major issues such as reluctance to seek help or treatment, bullying, discrimination, all of these things. Did you guys want to talk a little bit about what you think stigma means? So let's start with JB there.
Yeah. So I think stigma is something that surrounds mental health a lot, and you know, I feel like it's something that is kind of becoming less of a thing, especially amongst athletes. There's been a lot of athletes that have come out and started talking about their mental health battles. Um, Athletes like Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan, are more willing to come out and address things that they've gone through. For me myself, um, stigma is something that held me back from talking about my mental health problems, and I don't even want to say problems because the things that I go through are common, and when you're going through those things, you don't think that they're as common as they actually are, which makes it even more tough. And that's where I kind of realize talking about it kind of normalizes what you're going through, but it also gives you kind of the tools you need to get through what you're going through. As a young man, as an athlete, you're kind of taught to, suck it up and, be tough and, kind of put your feelings aside. But over time, you kind of realize that that's not very healthy. So me, luckily, when I'm going through my stuff, I have a strong support system behind me and people that I can talk to. And, that's just kind of how I've improved throughout my life regarding mental health.
Yeah, and I love that point that you brought up about sort of for males or for athletes to be strong, to suck it up, rub some dirt in it and move on. That's stigma right there. It's a classic case of it, and especially for athletes, it's something that must be tough to face, but is becoming more and more normal in today's day and age. Landon, did you want to talk a little bit about stigma? What does it mean to you? Have you seen it in your everyday life? Have you experienced it yourself?
Yeah, I think when it comes to stigma and mental health, these are one of the conversations that we have quite frequently is stigma. And one of the pieces that a lot of people forget is that almost everybody is going to go through some kind of mental health issue at some point within their life. Like it's not this rare disease or illness that happens to very few people that we have to try and overcome. It happens to such a bulk of our society at one point or another. It might be more severe for one person or less severe for another person, but everybody is going to go through it at some point. And that could hit you at, like, you could be doing the best in your life you currently are. Like, you'd be having the best job, the best social circle, great supports around you, and then mental health issues could hit you anyways, right? Like, there's no prescribed time or status that it's going to hit you. It's just going to hit you at some point in life, and it's going to do that to almost everybody. And so having this ideology that mental health is only for the weak or for a very few people within our society is kind of wrong, and it's harmful because it's going to happen to every one of us. And if it's going to happen to every one of us, then we have to be prepared as a society, as a social group, as friends, as family. We have to be prepared to be able to offer the support and the resources and be there to have conversations and lend an ear and kind of offer support in any way we can, because it's not a rare thing, right? Like, you don't know if your friend is experiencing something, because people are actually fairly good at hiding mental health issues, right? Like, you can go to work, you can go to school, you can play some games with other people, and you can very easily mask the fact that you're going through some kind of mental health issues. And so you never really know who is going through something at that moment. And so I think it's always really important just to be aware of who you need to be supporting and paying attention to kinds of changes within your friends' behaviors or your family's behaviors, so that you can be there to support them when they need it the most. And again, I think one of the most important things is to really keep in mind that this can happen to anybody at any point for absolutely no reason. It can just hit them, and they could be at the best point that they've ever been in their life, and it could hit them. And it's not a showcase of weakness or of anything else negative like that. It's just part of being human. And to demonize mental health issues is it's counterproductive to solving them, because that's just going to make things worse in the long term.
Very, very good points. And yeah, I think, do you guys think that stigma is getting less and less because of social media and sort of the openness of these conversations and the Bell Let's Talk campaign and things like that?
I think that social media is definitely playing a positive part in it. I mean, I think it also adds to the negative parts of mental health as well. But I think, once the conversation is open and people are starting to talk about it, more people feel about sharing, things that they've gone through. I can see personally a lot more athletes opening up about it. I say that because that correlates directly to me. It wasn't until I went through my own stuff that I understood the lengths that certain people go through when it comes to mental health and the battles that they face. So I think that definitely when you see someone who's the first person to open up about their mental health, the first athlete I heard about was DeMar DeRozan. I mentioned him earlier, but I feel like he was kind of the trailblazer when it came to that space. And after that, more athletes started opening up, and then it just became something that more athletes were talking about. And it's not only men, but the women athletes too. So it's been great to see in the sports world.
Yeah. And I think just to kind of build on that too, one of the things that I've been noticing, and maybe this is just the group that I've been working with, but the Gen Zs, or the upcoming generation, they've actually been a little bit more in tune with what each other is experiencing than previous generations, whether that's millennials or Gen X's or the boomer generation. Like, they've been, for whatever reason, like, more in tune with how their actions and their thoughts and their behaviors impact the people around them, which that kind of would suggest to me that people are becoming more aware of mental health issues and how that impacts your psychological well-being, your physical well-being, and all your other kinds of well-being, which is really, for me, it's really kind of cool to see, because it shows me that we are moving forward as a society, which is phenomenal. And even when social media is often, kind of like Juwan was mentioning, is kind of like a double-edged sword, where it can bring with it a lot of negatives. I know some of the pros in different games like League of Legends or whatnot that I've talked to, they say that some of their biggest barriers to kind of like a sustainable mental health is that they get constantly attacked online for all these different issues. But at the same time, things like social media, like vloggers talking on YouTube about their mental health experiences, or different kinds of influencers or pro gamers talking about their mental health experiences on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, whatever it might be. That's really creating like a pretty profound sense of awareness about like just what is mental health and how does it impact me. And I think the route to any kind of growth truly begins with awareness. You can't change anything until you're aware of what you need to change. And even though social media is kind of a double-edged sword, just the pure fact that people are now talking about mental health because of these posts and these videos and these streams on mental health, it's really starting to create awareness within, whether it's esports, gaming, or just general society. It is helping quite a bit.
Sure. And with that awareness, it comes with other things. People are now educating themselves. They're looking at the types of language that they're using. So the certain words, certain phrases that are not, that are just perpetuating that stigma, right? So what do you think can be done other than just sort of talking openly about these things to help reduce stigma? Juwan, if you want to take a crack at that.
That's a good. I mean, that's a great question. I don't know. I would think like maybe more having more resources available, maybe more research as to what may be causing stuff like that. Is it trauma as a from when we were young? Is it personal experiences? But for me, like I can only speak from my personal experience. I think that having the communication, having people to talk to is the biggest thing. And then just also knowing that you're not alone and that you're not the only person that's going through that. So I think that, you know, like organizations like Bell that are putting together stuff like this, Bell Let's Talk, and people who are putting an emphasis on mental health. Um, those are the things that are going to change this, and it's going to just become an open conversation, and hopefully it just leads to more people being comfortable talking about things that are going on in their lives that are affecting them, that they've been keeping in.
Yeah, it's not easy stuff to talk about at all. Definitely not. I actually opened up a little bit on social media today, and I haven't done that in a long time, and that was really tough. But I saw a lot of support from people online, and it helped me to come to terms with what it is and how I really feel. Yeah, Landon, did you have any thoughts on reducing stigma?
Yeah, this one's actually going to be a little bit more gaming specific, just because that's kind of the world that I live in, and
Mm,
I've been seeing a lot, pretty much from any game, any game that any people play. They always talk about how toxic the game is getting and how there's so much negativity within it, and they're almost flaming people like Riot or Valve or whatever, and like, fix your game. It's so toxic. This is an awful environment. This is an awful community, and the truth is like, what do you want them to do about it, right? Riot can't ban people into being holistic and positive people. That's just not the way it works. And the way that we're going to shift those things, it really truly does begin with the community in and of itself. Like, if you feel like the game you're playing is too toxic and there's too much negativity in it, you really got to go out of your way to try and change the way that that community is driven, because a game developer can't ban out toxicity. It's just always going to come back, and it's going to come back, and it's going to come back. It's not until we shift away to a different kind of gaming culture altogether, and that kind of boils down to just being intolerant of intolerance, right? I know it's kind of a weird sentence, but when actually, this is a crazy kind of anecdote, but the other day I was playing some Leagues, that's the game that I play, and somebody dropped some pretty derogatory terms against somebody else, and it was just kind of boiling down to a flame fest. And one person, it was crazy. It wasn't necessarily super impactful in that moment, but they actually called that person out, saying like, how is this something that's useful? How is this acceptable within a gaming culture? And they were taking the step forward and trying to change the way that we approach gaming. And again, you can't really get a developer to force out all these kinds of negative stigmas and environments and cultures. It boils down to each individual player kind of committing to change. And I know that kind of seems like, how can one person change a community? But that is just how communities change, is through individuals putting their foot forward and taking a step at a time. And I think that's a big way that we're going to change the stigmas within the gaming culture, is if each individual person feels the responsibility to make the changes themselves and make sure that they're calling out all these negative kind of words or stereotypes or stigmas that are happening within the gaming world, and just showcasing that it's not acceptable and that's not the way that gaming culture is going anymore.
I love that. It's on us, and we have to look inwards to solve this problem, to educate ourselves, to change sort of the way we look at things, and to actually, put action into how we feel our words. And if we want to support this, it's up to us to make a change on a personal level. So that's
Exactly.
that's really cool. And yeah, that sort of talking about looking into ourselves. Another huge aspect to mental health is sort of finding balance in what we do, right? Balance physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It can be so many things. Juwan, how do you find balance in your life? What do you do?
Um, so my life is all about balance, actually. I think a big thing that I do, I use video games honestly as an outlet. Um, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or not, because you're kind of like leaving your troubles behind in another world, and now I'm a Call of Duty sniper, or I'm a NBA basketball player now, and that's just kind of how I figure out. I mean, I deal with things that I don't want to think about, but at the same time, um, I work out. I like to stretch. I like to practice breathing techniques. Um, I'll read sometimes. I have a lot of half-finished books that I finish. uh, and just trying to just I feel like the easiest way for me to deal with my mental health is by keeping a routine, right? So I do something as simple as make my bed in the morning. It sounds small, but you know I know that if I'm doing that in the morning, like, I'm gonna be okay because I'm not out of my routine. And if I don't, it's not gonna throw anything out of whack. But I noticed when the lockdown first happened and I wasn't able to work out, I felt like I didn't feel the same. And then as soon as I got that first workout in, I felt like, okay, like, I felt motivated, and I felt kind of like the regular Juwan, not the pandemic Juwan. So yeah, I would say those are the things that kind of keep me sane and keep me in a routine. And um, they're things that I'm definitely going to continue to do as long as I can.
I love what you said about sort of the breathing techniques and stuff. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so there's when did I start doing that? I think that my first year out of college, I really got into breathing techniques because I started doing yoga, and I realized how relaxed it made me feel. And um, you really feel like you kind of just the stress like leaves your body. It's almost like you're just breathing it out. And there's a bunch of different techniques that I've tried and I've seen, and um, I really do think that they work. And I definitely recommend people to look up different techniques and try and find the one that best suits you.
Right, right. Do you find that sort of helps you spiritually, or is it more of a physical or mental thing?
Um, Sometimes I think it's a bit of both, honestly. There's been times where I've just done it to relax, and there's been times where I've done it to just relax and then kind of have like this moment of like clarity. It's almost like you have an epiphany where you're like, you think of like a crazy idea, or you kind of start looking at a situation a different way. And I think it's just having that moment to yourself where nothing else distracts you, and you're able to kind of think more clear. So I would say it's both mental, physical, and spiritual at the same time.
Awesome. Yeah. What are your thoughts about these exercises? Do you do any of these, Landon? What do you think?
I honestly, like, breathing exercises, like Juwan was saying, is money. Like, that is the most simple and highest profit kind of activity you can ever be doing in your entire life. It's the
Nice.
reason
Take
being,
note, everybody.
like if you're not doing breathing exercises, you're wasting out some of your time because they're so phenomenal in terms of mental and physical health. And the reason being, and like a little bit of a background on why they're important, is because your body has a lot of like automatic kind of functions, right? Like you think about your blood flow, your heart rate, or just your brain process. They're all kind of automatic, right? And you don't really have control over those things, but one of the automatic processes that you do have control over is your breathing. You can take control manually. You can think about your breathing. You can kind of influence or interject different kinds of breathing patterns. And when you take control of one of your automatic processes, everything follows suit. So if you take control of your breathing and you practice some breathing techniques, your just entire nervous system kind of slows down and helps you relax. It calms you down. So if you're having a panic attack or you're freaking out or something big is going on and is causing a lot of stress, by just truly doing some breathing exercises, if you're doing them correctly, like Juwan he said, go research them or look them up. If you're doing them correctly, like you're gonna find that your heart rate drops, your breathing rate drops, everything about your stress just kind of melts away, and it's a hugely powerful biological process that pretty much everybody should be doing at some point within their life. And then when you get good at them, you can also do breathing exercises in the reverse, where you might be going into a competition or you're into an exam or something that you actually need to get amped up for a little bit. And you can do breathing exercises that then do the reverse of the other ones that calm you down and hype you up, get your blood flowing, get your heart racing, and kind of amps you up for whatever you need to do. So breathing exercises is one of like the highest profit kind of activities you can be doing to either calm yourself down or amp yourself up, depending on what you need in any given moment. But yeah, I honestly can't say anything better than that. Juwan nailed it. I listen to that guy; he knows it.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were done or not.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
So there's this guy that I've watched on YouTube. He has a Vice episode on him as well.
Is it Wim?
And Wim. His name's Wim Hof, WIM HOF, aka the Iceman. And this guy, he developed his own breathing technique to where he can relax his body and submerge himself into freezing cold water these temperatures without any, like, he'll have shorts on and he'll be in like the Arctic. And it's all through breathing and really like his mental, I don't even know what it is, like his mental capacity to like kind of not think about what he's enduring is phenomenal. And he's taken regular people, taught them this breathing technique, and they've been able to withstand these cold temperatures. And it's just amazing what breathing can do for you.
It's pretty cool if you ever follow. I think Wim has a few educational videos on YouTube where if you follow along with what he's teaching, he even warns you before going into it that you're going to start feeling lightheaded and kind of a little bit spacey. And you truly do. If you follow his like the exact pattern that he's telling you, it'll feel, I don't want to say high, but you get this sense of euphoria, or it makes you a little bit dizzy. It's pretty fascinating the way it either calms you down or hypes you up depending on what you're looking for. But between breathing exercise and things like mindfulness, I don't want to say meditation because it's a little bit of a tricky word to navigate, but mindfulness is incredibly important. And I'm even a little bit hesitant to use the word mindfulness because it means different things to different people. But what I really mean, and this is kind of tying into the balance sense, is taking time to really, really dig into your own thoughts and experiences and emotions. And that's kind of like the core piece or the component of mindfulness, is becoming aware of what you've experienced, what you're experiencing right now, and what you're anticipating for the future, and kind of separating those things into their own buckets so that it's not this one big overwhelming feeling. Because that's a little bit sometimes where anxiety steps in, is when you've got something bad that's happened, your current moment's going terribly as well, and now you're fearful of the future. And if you can kind of dissect that, separate those things apart, and experience the moment for what it is, you reduce the anxiety that you're feeling towards the future, as well as you're not as negatively judging your past or whatever just previously happened, and you're not pulling that forward with you. So between that mindfulness bit, a little bit of balance in your life, so not just throwing everything into gaming or one or two things, and adding breathing exercises into that, it's going to do wonders for your mental health.
So I'm hearing, that these types of small exercises can be extremely helpful. And I would love to be able to, maybe show an example to our viewers a little bit about what that can look like. Is it real quick? Like, could we just do like a quick breathing exercise and just sort of see what that looks like? And
Juwan's gonna lead us in some Wim Hof.
I mean, honestly, the Wim Hof technique is actually tough, and if I did it, I'd probably feel like I was gonna pass out.
so it doesn't
Right
have to be that technique, but just like
I can,
any ones that you guys use that you guys think can help. Is it just deep breaths, or is
yeah,
it something else? Or
Yeah, it's as simple as a deep breath. I like to, breathe in like just like that. And even if I breathe through my nose, out through my mouth, I feel kind of like a weight is lifted off me. Even if I'm not stressed, it feel like it calms me down personally. Um, Sometimes if I can't sleep, I'll take like a couple deep breaths and it'll relax me and I'll go to sleep. It's a natural thing that we can do for our body that people are taking melatonin for and stuff like that, and just practicing relaxing. A lot of us don't know how to relax,
yeah.
and it's a problem. So
You know
uh,
what? I think a lot of people use gaming to quote unquote relax,
mhm.
but when they're playing, it's not relaxing at all.
No, not at all.
no, there's
It's very stressful.
so two quick things. I'll kind of give you a really brief breathing exercise that literally anybody can do at any point. It's not as complex as Wim Hof or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it's much easier employed by pretty much everybody. And the only thing that you need to do is focus on hard exhales for 4 seconds. So it's like you just go in for a 4 second exhale, and then by exhaling for 4 seconds, you're gonna get this like natural feeling that you need to inhale deeply as well, and then you exhale for another 4 seconds. So if you focus on that 4 second exhale, your inhales will kind of take a natural pattern. You do that for 5 or 6 times in a row, and that's going to calm you down a lot. But again, like just a very quick and simple, dirty. This isn't the best breathing technique, but it's just one to kind of kick things off. Is focus on 4 second deep exhales, and then your inhales will kind of follow suit. And that's really one of just the easiest ways to get into breathing exercises is doing that.
One more thing, and I don't want to keep talking about breathing and everything, but it
Hey,
does
if it
take
works, like,
practice.
yeah.
It does, but it does take practice. So when I first started doing, I found myself getting frustrated because I wasn't able to focus on my breath. Um, and that's the cool thing about learning how to breathe. Um, you kind of you're able to focus on one thing instead of having our minds race and think about every other thing. You're focusing on that one thing, and I found myself getting frustrated. I was like, man, all I have to do is breathe, but I can't focus. So once I was able to kind of learn how to do that, I really felt at peace when I was doing it for like even like for 5-10 minutes. It doesn't even have to be a long period of time. You feel an actual difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's a cool thing that I'll do that I don't think most people enjoy doing it, but I love it is I'm a morning shower kind of person. I wake up and the first thing I do, or one of the first things I do is I go for a shower. But the really strange thing that I do is I shower in absolute pitch darkness. Which,
What?
yeah, it blows people's mind. But the reason being, there's actually like I enjoy it because when I'm in like a hot shower in pitch darkness, I can just think. Like there's no things distracting me. I'm not looking at stuff. I'm not like nothing is really popping into my mind, and it lets me relax my brain. And some of the biggest work epiphanies or just personal epiphanies that I've ever had is because I'm just standing in a pitch black room having a shower. And so stuff like that, like it doesn't have to be just that, but the point being, or the reason for telling that story is that you can find things that help you turn off your brain a little bit so you can relax and just kind of be in the moment. Kind of like you touched on, Alex. Jumping into games is not ever relaxing. There is so much information and just different things that are flooding your brain when you're playing games, whether that's like call outs, strats, macro, micro, whatever it might be. Like games are incredibly information intensive and they take a lot of cognitive resources in order to play. So if you're playing games for relaxing, you're not relaxing most likely. And it might feel like you're having fun, but fun isn't always relaxing. And your brain truly needs to turn off, even if it's only for a couple of minutes a day. Your brain just needs to turn off and get that rest. So that's why things like mindfulness are important, is because it helps you to turn off your brain. breathing techniques. Not to keep on harping on that one topic, but if you're focusing on breathing techniques, most likely your brain is turning off and being able to relax in those moments as well, which is another reason why they're important. Or if you want to shower in absolute pitch darkness, there's another chance for your brain to turn off. Just finding ways that your brain can stop thinking will be incredibly helpful for your day-to-day life.
Right.
You sound like a float tank kind of guy.
Ooh.
Secretly, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried that?
Well,
Oh, they're awesome.
they are.
Yeah?
Well, I mean, I've just heard they're awesome.
I've done it multiple times. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that's Alex. You know that I'm a big camper, and that's also one of the big reasons I go out into the wilderness. Is like, what can you possibly do that's not relaxing when you're laying in a tent? Like, it's just you're there in darkness and you're just listening to nature. Like, it's really refreshing.
I'm not gonna lie. To me, it sounds a little cold and uncomfortable, but
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
oh man. But yeah, I think you were also you brought up a point about sleep, and that's something that we haven't touched on yet. And I think that's a problem that a lot of gamers. Juwan also brought up routine. So gamers have, I think, some problems with routine and proper sleep. So I think that's another important issue to bring up as well. That routine helps you maintain that balance, and then sleep will also help you rest your brain and relax a little bit so that you're not as anxious. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, balance is really about your ability to deal with everyday challenges and enjoy life while doing so. So just being able to manage what life throws at you, but also enjoying your life and it not derailing everything. So
Alex,
yeah.
on that topic, the other best low hanging fruit in terms to
Ooh,
improve
I love it. Hit me.
mental like your mental health, your mental performance, whatever it might be, other than breathing techniques. So I'm not going to keep on going that. It is sleep. It's 100% sleep. It goes breathing exercise, nutrition, and sleep. Those are like the three easiest things to kind of tackle, and you'll see some pretty profound results because of that. And I kind of I have this guilty pleasure of watching self-help people because I think they're usually full of a lot of hot air. And I was watching one the other day, and he said something along the lines of billionaires don't sleep 8 hours a day. And that was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, so I'm not going to swear. That was the largest amount of junk I've ever heard in the entire life. Because
Wow.
even if a billionaire doesn't sleep for 8 hours a day, I can guarantee you that he's not happy then. Because sleep is that profound on your mental health. Like, it doesn't matter what you're getting out of sleeping less, it's going to hurt you long term. It's going to impact your mental health. It's going to impact the way that you work, the way, if you're a gamer, it's going to impact the way that you play a game. When you're playing something like League of Legends or CSGO or whatever, and a tenth of a second matters. If you didn't sleep for your 8 hours last night, that tenth of a second is going to go against you and you're going to lose almost every single time. Like, that's how profound sleep can be on your mental health and performance. So it's if you get that kind of in line and you're doing breathing exercise, you're going to be a step ahead of almost everybody else.
It's so true because like as an athlete, we're part of like maybe like the 1 to 5% of people that play their sport professionally. And you learn all these things about, sleep, nutrition, recovery, and to you it becomes common knowledge, but then to people who don't live that life, it's like an epiphany to them. But to me, I'm like, I do this every day. So for me, when I was stressed and going through my mental health stuff, the most frustrating part for me was the fact that I couldn't sleep how I usually could. I used to just be able to knock out ASAP. My girlfriend, she would get so mad, like, you fall asleep before me, like it's so annoying. And it went from that to like me sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, which is not nearly enough to what I um needed. And especially as an athlete, it affected my recovery, started affecting my mood. And then that's when I started feeling like, man, like this is getting out of control. And now that I'm back in a routine, I'm in bed by like 9, try and go to sleep by like 10:30, and I feel so much better.
That's Honestly, so one of the things that I've noticed with people that I've been working with is that when they say their sleep schedule is out of whack or they can't get their sleep schedule in order, it's oftentimes more that they can't get their day schedule in order or their day schedule's out of whack. So they're not planning out when they're gaming, they're not planning out when they're working, they're not planning out when they're eating. They're just kind of leaving it up to chance, and that chance is what's kind of screwing up their sleep schedule. So it's not necessarily that their sleep schedule's out of whack, it's that they haven't put their days into routine. They haven't structured their days out. So their body and their brain doesn't really know when to go to bed because everything is chaotic and random. So if you're really trying to fix your sleep schedule, stop paying attention to your sleep schedule and start paying attention to how you're functioning in your given day. Like, are you drinking caffeine past 3 or 4 p.m.? Are you exercising right next to bed? Are you watching movies? Like, all these different things. Each individual one of those things might not be the only reason you're having bad sleep, but when you combine all these things, add it together, that's going to impact your quality and duration and when you fall asleep and all those kind of things. So when you're trying to figure out your sleep schedule because you know that's impacting your day-to-day life, pay more attention to how you're structuring your days, and that will probably help you with your sleep schedule.
Very, very good tips. So I hope everyone got that there. While you guys marinate on that information, everybody, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and we will be back again with Juwan Brescacin and Landon Gorbenko in our Bell Let's Talk conversation. See you guys. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our conversation with Landon Gorbenko and Juwan Brescacin. Um, yeah, that was quite the conversation we were having before the break, and I just want to bring up something that Juwan said during the break, and I thought it was super important too. We were talking a little bit about going to sleep and making sure you get enough sleep with your routine and everything, but he brought up a great point about how we wake up too. Juwan, did you just want to refresh us one more time?
Yeah, so I was saying, not only is sleep important, but the way we wake up from our sleep is important. For example, like we have that crazy alarm on our iPhones that it sounds like, I don't know, like a nuclear bomb's going off. It's like imagine if you're waking up to that every single day, and it's something so like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it just feels like you have to get up, and it's like, like, what am I missing, like what's going on, as opposed to I change my alarm to something that's more soothing when I wake up. So I feel like I can wake up and kind of ease into my day instead of just going like full bore. I need to get this done, I need to get this done. And sometimes, if you wake up later, if you do have a lot to do, it's harder to do that. But I kind of like to start my morning off in a more methodical way. Like Landon, I'm a morning shower person with the lights on.
Weirdo.
To each their own.
Yeah, I just I don't like to wake up feeling like with an adrenaline rush. Like that's kind of just weird to kind of wake up like that to me. So that's something that I would recommend people do. Find a ringtone that's a little more soothing and see if it makes a difference for you.
Juwan, I recently, well, not recently, but I got a Google phone, and one of the recommended alarms that it has is waking up to news. So I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. I threw that on, and every single morning was like politics were slamming my head. I was like, oh my, this is the worst way to wake up to. I'd rather wake up to like Metallica or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be an easier transition.
No. Actually, there's an app. It's called Sleep Cycle. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but you put your phone next to your bed, which I've heard isn't necessarily recommended. But for this, it keeps track of your sleep. So um, it can hear if you're tussling in your sleep.
Oh.
It can, if you're in a deep sleep and you're snoring, it can hear that, and it'll be like you hit REM sleep, which is like the most important cycle for sleep. That's where we recover, and usually when we hit REM, that's when we start dreaming and stuff like that. So it'll tell you how long you've been in deep sleep for. It'll tell you how long you've been tussling for. But then they also have these great alarm options that are kind of like you're waking up to like a nice sunset, and it's something that's like really soothing, like I said. And it was awesome because I was able to track my sleep, and then my sleep was also becoming more consistent, and I was sleeping longer throughout the night. So Sleep Cycle is free. Obviously, with the premium package, you get more stuff, maybe like more ringtones, but it's really not that necessary.
Yeah, no nuclear war going off.
That's
Honestly, I
Gorgeous.
I usually wake up to work messages, and I'm pretty sure that that's the way it's going for a lot of people in lockdown, right? We're not getting up earlier than work when work starts to get ready and travel to work to commute. Typically, like now we can roll out of bed, take a quick shower, and we're on our computer and we can get to working. But those work messages start coming in the morning, and it's like, oh man, I should be working, or like this is happening, like we got to get this stuff done or whatever. And I feel that sort of adrenaline rush that you're talking about in the morning, sort of waking up to that, right? And it's not the best way to wake up, so maybe I should do something about that as well. Yeah.
I would say a challenge for you, and it's also a challenge for me, is like when you wake up in the morning, don't have your phone be the first thing that you grab, right? We have these things on us all day. And you wake up in the morning and our natural reaction is to check our phones. Like that is as normal as it may seem, because most of us do it, it's not normal. So what I try and do some days is get up and don't check my phone. Just go shower, go eat breakfast, then come back, because you know what? Like that 15 minutes that I take for myself, I'm able to kind of have that before I go into work, or you're going to be on these electronics all day, so take that 15 minutes where you wake up to kind of have some Alex time, and kind of just get your day started on a positive note, and you will notice that like it actually makes a difference. 15 minutes.
And I think that's the ultimate takeaway is you hear all of these little like this will help, routine sleep, nutrition, whatever it may be, and I think a lot of people sort of gloss over it, and they're like, "Oh, how much can it really help?" You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Um, yeah. So, like, I've heard a lot about what you guys are doing to deal and recover sort of from mental health, any illnesses or anything. But like, yeah, could you guys maybe outline sort of if you have struggled, get a little bit more if you'd like to be a little bit more candid about what you've struggled with in the past, and hopefully that will, start that conversation, and we can open it up to some questions and comments for the chat after that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can jump on
Landon, did you want to go ahead?
for
Yeah,
sure, for sure. Before I do that, I want to say one other quick thing, just with the last topic we were talking
yeah,
about. When it comes to all of these little tips and strategies and things that you can be doing to manage your mental health, you really have to keep in mind that none of these things are a magic pill. You're not going to change your sleep schedule and immediately feel better. You're not going to get more sun and immediately feel better. You're not going to do all these things to immediately feel better. These are all a process. And I can almost guarantee you that you're going to feel like no progress is being happen or no progress is happening while you're doing them. It's not until 3 or 4 on the road when you look back and you're like, oh, holy shit, I was there 3 months ago and now I'm here. That's profound. Like, it's not going to be Tuesday you feel like garbage, so Tuesday night you do something, and Wednesday you're a brand new person. It's just not going to be that way. It is a commitment that you have to make to yourself. And even if you feel like it's not helping, you stick with it, and over time you're going to look back and you're going to see that you took just tremendous steps forward. And then that's when you're going to start really feeling better about yourself. You'd be like, 3 months ago I was in this dark place and I didn't even know it, but I committed to changing all these things, and now I'm here. What's going to be another 6 months down the road? It's not an over the night thing. So if you do try doing breathing exercises like Juwan was saying, or any other kinds of tips or strategies, or whatever else you might be doing, don't give up just because it didn't work. Just stick with it, trust the process, and I promise you within a few months you're going to notice that you've become a different person when you reflect backwards. So that's just my little piece of advice there, is don't expect immediate, pay attention to the long-term process, and then you'll be good.
more great advice from
What
Landon.
was the question I was supposed to be answering? I kind of went off on a tangent.
Yeah, I just before we open it up to some questions and comments from the chat, so if anybody has those, please drop them there. But yeah, if you guys want to dive into sort of your own personal experiences and struggles, just so we can start opening up that conversation, and maybe we can talk to
For sure.
some of our viewers after that. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot what I was supposed to be actually talking about there. Yeah, so for me personally, again, like I think I mentioned this at the beginning, I really, really struggled with a lot of different kinds of mental health issues when I was growing up, ranging from depression to social anxiety. I had a very difficult time even meeting or talking with friends, and like even going all the way up into my university days. Like, I could not talk or meet new friends because I was so scared of just social pressures or anxiety, and I was very reclusive, and I kind of just kept to myself, and that ended up me becoming obese and suffering from all sorts of different health issues from that. And like that impacted the trajectory of my life quite a bit, to the point where now I will still go through these kind of like ebb and flows of mental health. And I think I was kind of mentioning this earlier as well. It doesn't necessarily matter what place you're at in life, mental health issues can always strike. And like, this is me just kind of opening up and being very vulnerable right now at my point in life. I'm in like terms of career and all those kinds of things, I'm doing really well, but I'm also just kind of coming into or coming out of a very difficult mental health crisis, where it's like things we were talking about, like even my sleep schedules have been extremely thrown off, and I've been very sluggish at getting up in the morning. I've been having a hard time keeping up with my friends just because I don't have the capacity or the energy socially to manage those kinds of things. And it's the past 2 or 3 months, despite how good everything has been going, like I've just been in this very big slump and this ebb, and it's been very, very difficult. And just kind of to show that it doesn't matter again what's happening in your life, mental health will always hit, and there's no rhyme, there's no reason for it. It's just part of being human. And I think again, kind of with the awareness piece that we were talking about earlier, is always being aware of what your words or who around you is currently suffering from things. Because if your friend is silently going through something and you're not really noticing that he's going through something, you might hurt them further. You need to be able to be ready and kind of give them a hand, help them up, and just be there for your friends. Otherwise, it's just I don't know where I'm trying to go with this, but without that awareness piece, we aren't really going to get forward in society, and we have to be able to help each other.
Right. I'd like to think that I'm fairly close with you, and I honestly didn't have any idea that you were struggling at the moment or anything like that. And yeah, I just want to thank you for sharing that with everybody and being so candid about it. I know it is hard. So
Yeah, and that's part of the thing too, is we shouldn't be ashamed or shy of when we're going through things, because again, everybody is going to go through things. This isn't a weakness. This isn't you just not being good enough or strong enough. It is just a natural part of being human, and it's not something to be embarrassed of or shy of. It's something that you should go to friends and you should be open and you should be talking to each other about.
all right, Jawan, can you relate at all, or yeah?
To a certain extent, yeah. First of all, thank you, Landon, for sharing. Um, I've always been a social person. I'm like an introvert extrovert. If I don't really know you, I'm not gonna really say that much. But once I get to know you and feel comfortable, I'm able to open up and be my regular self. But um, my challenges with mental health actually started in 2019. Um, Going into the 2019 season, I had a goal of going to the NFL. That was my goal going into the CFL season, and I was off to a great start. Better year statistically than I've had in football in general, and then I tore my knee, the sixth game of the season, and I tore the same knee, had the same injury in college. So in my mind, I'm like, I know what to expect. I know what this process is like. I can do this. And then for some reason, it might have had to do with being in Calgary for the time, and it was summer, and summer's like 3 weeks in Calgary. So I missed like all the summer. I was inside, couldn't drive. I was on crutches for
Oh
2 months.
man.
I couldn't walk, and I really started like feeling down and like sorry for myself. And it was very weird because I was telling myself I was okay, but I didn't feel okay, and people around me didn't think anything was wrong with me. I stopped going to the locker room, didn't really want to be around people, so I would just spend a lot of time inside, and I could feel myself just getting depressed until one day I literally had like a breakdown and just started crying. I'm on the phone with my mom, just crying, and apologizing for being moody and all the things that I was going through. Apologize to my girlfriend because they're the ones that I was talking to the most. And fast forward, we entered 2020. I was a free agent, didn't know where I was gonna play, and but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna rehab, and I'm gonna come back, better version of myself, prove everybody wrong that I could still play. I'm still the Juwan that I've always been. So I was out in Chicago. Me and my girlfriend moved in together because she's from there, and I was training, rehabbing my knee. It was a tough battle because if you haven't had surgery or if you haven't had anything that's kind of thrown you off, especially as an athlete, when something's hurting all the time and you don't feel like yourself, it messes with you mentally. So every day was a battle for me to even work out. There'd be times where I couldn't finish my workout because my knee was hurting. And that was messing with me because I wanted to feel better right away. And I was being impatient. And um it got to the point where my knee was feeling good, but then and then I signed with the Argos, and then COVID happens and cancels the season. So um I own a Airbnb in Calgary. It was actually my first year investing in it before 2020. I think I got it in October. So I didn't really see much of the benefits from it yet financially. Um, but I was excited for the summertime because everybody loves to go to Calgary and go to Banff. So COVID happens, basically affects travel. I had to find a full-time renter. So it messed with that income stream, and then the CFL gets canceled, affects another income stream. So now I'm like, what do I do? And that's when I started streaming. I literally started streaming for fun, and then random people would start coming to my streams, and I would start talking to them and like see like there's a need that people want to feel connected to somebody. Man, I'm not the best gamer at all, but I like talking to people. I was a journalism major in college, and it's
Oh,
something that
really?
just yeah, it's just something
Okay.
that comes natural to me. Um, but back to the mental health stuff. I just found myself kind of lost, and I really had to figure out what would kind of make me happy and bring purpose to my life outside of football. So I started streaming, um, signed with Parabellum as a content creator, started doing Mental Mondays on my streams, where basically it's an open conversation like what we're having, except I'm talking to my chat. And I've been mentoring kids as well. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, they're going through a lot of the stuff that I went through at their age and didn't have anybody like me to talk to, especially someone that's currently playing. And I mean, the cherry on top for 2020, in a negative way, my great grandfather passed away
Oh,
um,
wow.
on December 22nd, so like right before Christmas. And he was in my life for 27 years, and he was like a father figure to me. And I still don't even think it's really become a reality. But going through all that stuff, the physical and mental stuff, and then having that happen was kind of like, damn, like can this year get any worse? And then um, we had his funeral on January 9th, which was a day before my birthday. So it's kind of been like just a crazy roller coaster emotionally. But the one positive thing I would say is that it's allowed me to figure out how to deal with these things and be able to open up and talk and be vulnerable to people that I don't even know, because I know that it can help somebody. And if I can help one person by sharing my story and what I've been through, then that's all that matters to me at the end of the day.
Thank you, Juwan, for sharing that. It was a really rough year for you. That's really brutal. So, I'm sorry to hear that, but hopefully you're doing a little bit better now with your
I'm
breathing
good.
exercises.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm talking more. I honestly would say I'm happy, but like Landon said, it's like it's not just like, oh, I feel better, like everything's good now. It's you constantly have to work on it, and that's okay. Some people it comes more natural to, some people it doesn't. But for me, I embrace a challenge and kind of check myself if I feel myself going, a certain way. I like to reel myself back in and just know that everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I think the really important part about what you said there too is the idea of knowing how to handle it when it happens. And it's something that sort of a creeping depression is something that I've dealt with a lot of my life. And the cycles used to be crazy. Like I would be okay and then I wouldn't be okay for, maybe a couple months or something. And over time, I've been able to sort of tighten up that cycle where I can sort of try to stay more in the middle instead of the extremes of one or the other. And I've lowered those cycles down. Maybe I'll only be down for about a week or so, or a couple days, or whatever it is. And it's just learning how to deal with all of those things, right? Um,
100%.
One of the weird things about depression too, or really any mental health issue, is that different emotions can exist at the same time, right? Like somebody could be uh, have severe depression or some kind of seasonal affective disorder or anxiety or whatever it might be, and then when they're out hanging with friends or they're doing something they love, they're feeling really happy and they're enjoying the moment. But then when they're alone again, that depression sweeps them. So it's if you see somebody that's really excited and happy and outgoing and enjoying life and having a great time, that doesn't mean that there's not something behind that waiting to kick them in the face. Because emotions, like opposite emotions, can exist at the same point. So it's not like somebody who's depressed is just going to be always depressed. Sometimes it's mass. Sometimes they'll be feeling really happy, and then the rug just gets swept out from underneath them, and then they're left back at square one and feeling terrible. It's a really tough juggling act trying to balance those kinds of things.
Definitely. And ultimately, like everyone's gonna feel sad or worried or scared or anxious at times in their life, right? It's I think where it becomes a problem is that these sort of feelings last over a long period of time, and you can't really deal with it and recover from those feelings. So if you're looking at feeling that way for a full year, like that's going to affect your life. It's going to affect how you do at work, at school, whatever it may be. And I think that's where you get more of the clinical diagnosis and stuff like that. But that doesn't make how the general public feels any less real. These are real feelings that everyone has, and yeah, 1 in 5 Canadians will experience a form of mental illness at some point in their life. So I think ultimately, I'm super glad that we were able to start this conversation and just let people know that it's okay not to be okay. You know. With that, I think, yeah, we'll just wrap up our stream here. Thank you guys so much for joining us here and helping us to talk about some difficult things. And hopefully, we were able to help you guys out as well. Yeah, so again, thank you, Landon and Juwan, for joining us. Juwan, do you want to drop any plugs or anything? Where can people find you?
Honestly, the easiest place to find me is probably on Twitch, because all my social medias are different, which is a no-no in marketing. But you know,
Pick one and let's go with
yeah,
it.
I would say just follow me on Twitch at JBoogie XCIII. It has all my other social medias on there. So that would probably be the easiest place to find everything.
All right, thanks. And Landon, where can people find you? Where can they find all your juicy tidbits of information?
Probably Twitter is probably the easiest. It's the platform that I'm most active on. I'm trying to get into streaming. It's really hit or miss, but hopefully more this year. But yeah, Twitter. Just look at the name below my face right now, Vertex Psych. That's my Twitter handle. You'll be able to find me there. DMs are always open. I always love chatting with people, so just shoot me messages and we'll just go from there.
And yeah, Bell, let's talk. If you guys are interested in finding more about all the fantastic, fantastic stuff that Bell is doing to help support Canadians with mental health issues, bell.ca/let's talk. And you can also use the hashtag Bell Let's Talk. So thank you guys again so much. And I hope this was helpful. Please practice some of those breathing exercises. Let us know how they went. And, if it improved sort of your mental health at all. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys.